Okay, I call this public hearing to order. I'm going to apologize, our speakers are not working, so we will try to speak up. It is recording, but the speakers are out, technical difficulties. Establishment of a quorum. Let the record reflect that we have Isidro Nieto, Erasmo Lopez, Oscar Caballero, and Andrew Gonzalez present. Item number 3, public hearing on Texas Academic Performance Report. Dr. Canales.
Good evening. We do have, as required by law, to report certain elements in a public hearing setting. So just a little history of public schools and accountability. I'll give that briefly before turning it over to Ms. Peterson. Okay, so in 1994 to 2002, our exam was TOS. And ratings for schools were exemplary, recognized, acceptable, and unacceptable. 2003 to 2012, the state gave us another accountability system called the Academic Excellence Indicator System. And again, we had the same ratings: exemplary, recognized, acceptable, and unacceptable. Most recently, we moved to STAR. That is from 2012 to 2017, and we had the TAPER report, the Texas Academic Performance Report, which we're going to use for the basis of the presentation today. And the ratings for district and campuses changed. They're now Met Standard, Improvement Required, and then Distinction Designations. That's where they compare the campuses to 40 like groups, and the ones in the top 25% get distinctions. Next year, we're going to continue with the TAPER, and we will still have the same Met Standard, Improvement Required, distinctions, plus each campus and the district will get a rating for several domains from an A to an F. And then in 2018, if things go as planned, there's no major changes, we will have the STAR, and we'll only have the ratings of A through F for campuses and districts on several domains, and then an overall. So that's a little bit of the history of where we've been with accountability. And so moving on to the presentation, Ms. Sue Peterson will lead us through the performance, student performance.
Okay, and Weslaco ISD is a Met Standard district. This was our rating in 2016. It's based on the spring 2016 STAR performance. And 18 of our campuses are Met Standard campuses. And I'm sorry, I forgot to pass those up when we started. Thank you,
Okay.
Mr. Salinas. We're on this is slide 4.
We're good. Correct.
All right. And of course, you know that Cade Early College is an improvement required campus because of missing domain 4, index 4 by just a couple of students. So each year, TEA assigns an accreditation status to the districts. We've already told you Weslaco is accredited. They look at the accountability ratings, our financial accountability rating, data integrity, and program deficiencies. So what I'm going to be going over is the academic part of the report, and each campus, once we receive these, creates campus performance objectives, and it is required that we report these to you. These are based on the data that they received in the spring, or in the summer rather, from their spring reports. These are the overall performance goals for each area that the campus has developed, and they did this with a team of teachers and their site-based decision-making committees. And these are the middle school goals based on their performance the prior year, and the goals for the high school campuses. And these are monitored throughout the year, and the campus improvement plans are posted on the school district's websites, and they are also available a hard copy at every campus. Then our 2016 performance reports, we have given these to you before. We reviewed these in detail in September at the board meeting.
Ms. Pekin?
Yes.
What page are you, just so that I can try to follow up
12.
pretty close?
You're on it right there, 12.
12?
Yes.
Yep. Is your computer not working,
No.
Carlos?
Yeah, usually
We'll
we see
work
the
on that.
screen and-
All right.
Yeah.
So I'm on 12. I'll let you know when I change the slide.
All right.
All right, so this is the performance reporting for the elementary schools. Again, you've got grades 3, 4, and 5 together here for reading, math, and 4th grade is writing. It is only given at 4th grade writing writing's only given at fourth grade at the elementary schools. The next page, the next slide is the middle school, grades 6, 7, and 8. And again, writing is only at the 7th grade. And you can see our comparison to the region and the state. And again, we gave you this information in September. The following slide, 14, has the performance for 5th grade science, 8th grade science, and 8th grade social studies. Those tests are only given at those grade levels. Then we have the high school, part of the high school performance rating on slide number 15. This is English, Algebra 1, and Biology. Most of these are taken at the freshman level, although the English and the Algebra also has 8th grade data in there. We do have 8th graders taking English 1 and 7th and 8th graders taking Algebra 1, so their data is in there combined. And then this is the English 2 and the U.S. History, the end of course. I do want to thank Claudia Alanis and Rick Flores for working very hard on these slides and pulling all of this data together for us. Then the next thing we provided for you is a breakdown of our special populations so that you can see where we have student groups that are not performing with everyone else. This is important for Domain 3 and also Index 3 in our ratings because it talks about the gap there, and it's looking at the gap between all students, which is the purple bar, and the gap, the performance of the economic disadvantaged group. That goes into Domain 3 and also Index 3 on the new A through F rating. It also has guided some of the work that we're doing at the district and campus levels with our special education students and our English language learners. Those are the two populations that struggle most. So this is reading ELA grades 3 through 10 combined. Slide 18 is the mathematics performance, and again, this is grades 3 through Algebra 1. All scores combined, and you can see there's a gap, again, between all students and the special populations. On slide 19, this is writing. Again, writing is only grades 4 and 7 here. It's incorporated into the language arts test at the high school level. And then science. This is grades 5, 8, and the biology 1, all grades combined. And this is social studies. And again, social studies is 8th grade and U.S. history only. So there's only 2 grade levels of students that test, although this past year we tested 10th and 11th graders in U.S. history because we had changed the sequence of courses. This year it'll just be 10th grade. Going on to slide 22, then this looks at the number of students we had that met the post-secondary readiness standard. This is what's called Final Level 2. It's an advanced score, grades 3 through 10 on these tests. It tells us how many students are sufficiently prepared for post-secondary success on 2 or more assessments. It goes into our Index 4 rating and on the accountability. We did have an increase over last year. It is not here on this slide, but I did look at it. We had an increase in reading. Whoops, let me get this out of here. The mouse would not move. Okay. We had an increase in reading from 32 to 34. We did have a drop in math from 44 to 39. We had an increase in writing at the post-secondary from 29 to 32. We had an increase in science from 36 to 40. And we also had an increase in social studies from 27 to 34. So we did have an increase in students scoring at the final level 2 performance.
So on page 22, we're below the state in Region 1
Yes, we are, sir.
in all the different areas?
Yes, sir. On the next slide, this is students meet at the advanced standard. This is a percentage of tests that meet or exceed, students that met or exceeded advanced level 3 and Index 3. We are seeing gains here. This year, we are checking our benchmarks for this. Principals are monitoring this on our Eduphoria system, and we are seeing gains here. And last year, we had, we stayed the same in ELA. We had a 3-point drop in math from the year before. We went up in writing from 4, we were 4% the year before, last year 8. Math, or science rather, went from 8 to 10, and social studies also 8% to 10%. On 24, It shows the percentage of students who met or exceeded progress for all grades in reading and math. And in reading, that 58 is a 2-point increase from the prior year. And in math, the prior year was 42% of students meeting or exceeding progress, and last year we jumped to 61. And this is another item that we are continuing to monitor this year, watching progress.
That's page 24?
Slide 24, yes, sir.
So this is all the grades.
All grades combined in reading and math.
And again, we're below the state and Region 1?
Yes, sir. Then we have our dropout for grades 9 through 12. This looks at all students in grades 9 through 12 that did not return. And this one, the state is at 2.1, the region's at 2, and Wesco's at a 2.1. We did have a significant improvement. Down is where you want to go on this one. From 2.9 in 2013-14, and we were at 4.1 in 12-13. So this has been dropping. We are working on this. Then we have attendance, which is very important, and you see the comparison from 13-14 to 14-15. This is not the 15-16 school year. This is a year delay, and we're continuing to work very hard on attendance. We did give you the breakdown on slide 27 for the campuses by special populations. We do have data that shows the rate at which our special populations are attending school. So this is that information for our high school campuses. This is the information for our middle school campuses. Mary Hogan, B. Garza do not have a white population to record, not enough students in that group. And this is the information for the elementary schools. This is just all students. To have the special pops here would be an enormously large graph. So this is just for all schools for our elementary. And again, the principals are working very hard on attendance. These are the graduation rates. It's the 4-year graduation rate, so students who enter as a freshman and graduate in 4 years, the class of 2015. The 5-year rate, those students that have to come back for 1 additional year, and then the 6-year rate. The state used to just track the 4-year rate and then the 5, and now they track the 6. We have had improvements in the overall rates. In 2013, the 4-year rate was at 85.7, so we've gone up to 88.5. The 5-year rate in 2012 was at 89.2, so that's increased. And the 6-year rate in 2011 was 89.5, and that has also gone up. Then we have the percent of students who are graduating under the recommended or the distinguished achievement plan.
What page are you on?
This is slide 31.
Okay, I guess I fell behind. On page
Sorry, sir.
28, good job to the principals on attendance on page 28. All 4 schools did very well. What page are you on?
On 31.
Okay.
Dr. Rivera, our microphones are not working, so
Oh,
we're gonna have to speak up.
okay.
It's being recorded on KWES, but
Yeah.
it's just not projecting into the
And
audience
also
here.
at the same time, let the record reflect that Dr. Rivera joined the meeting at 5:38.
So on this slide with the recommended and the distinguished achievement plan, we have had an increase. The class of 2013 had an 89.7, so we've gone up to 90 and then 90.3. And 2016 will be reported next year.
Peterson,
Yes, sir.
on this one, is that going to be also part of the accountability for the new A through F? The DAP and the RHS?
There's in index 4 for domain 4 for the high schools, it's college ready.
Right.
So it's not graduation rate, it's college readiness. So they're looking at completion of, I don't know, graduation plan is there, yeah. But it's going to transition to the foundation information.
Okay.
All right, and this is where Weslaco does very well because we have a very strong CTE program. In this indicator, they look at students who are meeting the TSI in English or math, or receiving credit for at least 2 dual or advanced courses, or enrolled in a coherent sequence of advanced CTE courses. And we have a lot of students that are enrolled in advanced CTE courses in that 4-year plan of study, so Weslaco ISD does very well here. We have a great CAPE program.
Good job.
This is information on college readiness indicators. So the first indicator there is on the percent of students who complete and receive credit for at least one advanced course. And we did have a significant increase there from 2014 to 2015. We expect another increase for 2016. Again, it's a year delay on this data. For the second one, the AP participation, this is the number of students in grades 11 and 12 who took at least one AP exam. We did have a slight decrease there. We've been running right around that 20 to 23% mark for several years. And the AP examinees at or above criterion is the number of 11th and 12th graders who scored a 3 or higher on an advanced placement exam, a 3, 4, or 5. And this is data that's reported to the AP teachers every summer when our AP scores come in July. Then we have the slide on the SAT or the ACT indicators at slide 34. The first table is the percent of graduates who tested an ACT or an SAT test. Not all of our students take one of those exams. If they're going to South Texas College, they need to take a TSI. They do not need to take one of the other two. We do encourage students to take the ACT, as that is the test that's needed for the state schools in Texas. So we do encourage that. And in the class of 2015, we had a 67.3% of the students test. And that's just looking at the graduating class. And then the second table there, number of students who scored at or above criterion on the ACT and the SAT. The SAT score is an 1110, and the ACT they're looking for here is a 24. We did have an increase in the number of students that hit that criterion score, but it is still low. The average SAT score, we do significantly better than the region and the state here. We do have a small number of students who take that test. It's most oftentimes students that are looking to get into competitive programs or out-of-state schools or the private colleges.
What was the number tested?
I do not have the number tested there, sir.
Still very good, above the state average.
And then the last one is our average ACT score. And again, we're hovering right around that 17% score for several years. In 2013, we were at 17.7. We do have test prep now, but we're still hovering on that ACT, which is not the minimum to get into Pan Am. So we still need to work on that. The max score in an ACT is 36. Then the state has also, for the past several years, been providing information for us on students in post-secondary institutions. The first table includes students in independent and state schools only in the state of Texas. It also includes STC and TSTC. So they're able to tell us that 60.7% of our students enrolled in a state institution the fall following their graduation from high school in 2014. And the next table only includes the public schools in the state of Texas. That graph, this data does not include any private schools. It's only the public schools, and they have to match IDs. But of our students that went to a public school in Texas, 59.1% of them were able to complete the first year without remediation.
Yeah,
And this is
these-
rather
Yeah,
recently
these
reported
are low
data.
compared to the region, to the state.
We need to do better there. Part of it is the TSI score. We know we need to have a higher average there in the ACT and also just the preparation. And this last table is the number of high school graduates enrolled in Texas public or independent higher ed in 2015 and their grades that they got, and this is one that has a lot of disclaimers on the bottom of the slide. It was imported from another presentation, but they have not found graduates. They have issues with IDs that have to be matched. So that number there would not match the number that are being tracked on the other data. This is from the Higher Ed Coordinating Board. And at this point, I will turn it over to Mr. Salinas.
Good evening, members of the board. Today, we're going to be presenting on the 2015-16 violent and criminal incidents here at Weslaco ISD. Texas statute, the TEC 39.053, requires Weslaco Independent School District to publish an annual report on violent and criminal incidents in the district. The report must include the number, rate, and type of incidents, information concerning school violent prevention and intervention policies, and procedures used by the district, and findings from the Safe and Drug-Free School Communities Act survey. All the information that's going to be reported was part of the PIMS that was inputted by the campuses. If you look at the following graph, we have 4 of our schools that had incidences. One of our elementaries possessed illegal knife. One of our high schools, Weslaco East, possession of prohibited weapon and arson was coded there. Horton, aggravated assault of an employee. If you look at action code number 36, felony controlled substance violation, we have 2 for Weslaco High, 5 for Weslaco East, and 1 for Horton. So for your totals for all incidences in Weslaco ISD, we have 2 for Weslaco High, 7 for Weslaco East, 2 for Horton, and 1 for Northbridge. The number that looks alarming to me, and I talked to Dr. Cantu today, was number 7. You only allowed 3 incidents per 1,000 students in population, and they went over by 1. As we move forward, if this happens 3 years in a row, then the school's going to be labeled a dangerous school for our district. This is the first year that they got over, and Dr. Cantu and I will be working carefully to make sure that what is coded here needs to be followed up with a police report to make sure it is in collaboration with each other. Some of the things that we're doing to get better at this, of course, we have our district code of conduct. We have surveillance cameras on all our campuses. We have Chapter 37 prevention and intervention programs, safe and drug-free school programs, school counseling safety topics, referrals to outside mental agencies, anti-bullying trainings, drug prevention programs, response interventions. We have a DAP program, our Section 504, special ed services, parental involvement activities, violent prevention programs, secondary schools of discipline intervention resources, drug prevention and awareness programs, adjudicated task force meetings, social workers at all our secondary campuses, our monthly emergency drills, measures for screening visitors at all campuses, secure monitor hotspots at all our campuses, security monitors hotspots, counseling, transitional services, and crisis prevention and intervention trainings. At this time, this concludes my report, and next is Ms. Bella Segura for Human Resources.
Good evening, members of the board. Dr. Canales. I will be presenting the PEAM staffing information with you. If you can go ahead and follow along on slide number 43. And this is the staffing information provided to PEAMS for the school year of 2015-2016. I do want to report that Weslaco ISD reported a total of 2,359 district staff members, of which 59.1% was categorized in the professional staffing category. And as you can see, that is above the region, but still below the state. Moving on to the next category, teachers. We are at 47.6%. That is above the region, but still below the state. Professional staff, we are both above the region and the state at 10%. Campus administration, which are your campus principals, we're at 0.7%. That is below both the region and the state.
Yep. This one's a little bit kind of alarming because we may not have enough people in our schools for assistant principals compared to the state and to the region.
Okay,
So
with the
this-
campus
this is a-
administration.
This is a little low.
Yes, sir. And we will work on reviewing those staffing allocations.
Mr. Canales, can you find out, like, districts, how many assistant principals they have, like in elementary, in the middle schools and high schools? Because if these figures are correct, we're low, a lot lower. We should be higher.
Yes, we can find out from surrounding districts,
Yeah.
either through the HR, through superintendents at those meetings we have monthly.
They might need some more help at the campus level.
Okay.
Okay, just for
Staff and analysis.
clarification, the 7% is referring to campus principals
Only?
only. Assistant principals are in the category of central
Support?
support, yes.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
Oh.
sir. We do have, if you can recall, we do have a new campus, which is our 21st Century Campus, that is functioning without a principal. That is the only one that I can think of that is, an actual campus for PEAMS with no, Ms. Janie Peña, I believe, is acting as executive director and principal. So
No.
that might be something we might want to look in for next
Could
year's.
that .7 be attributed to the fact that our schools are bigger and some schools have 1,000 students?
It could be, sir. I
And-
will look into it and get back to you on that. And Dr. Rivera, I will make a comparison to other districts for you as well.
Okay.
Moving on, central administration, we're at 0.8%, and that is below both the region and the state. Educational aids, we're at 7.7, which is below both the state and the region. And so we have identified that we have a need, not only for central office staff, but instructional assistants to help in the classrooms. We're looking at some of those needs, and, we've kind of communicated with principals, especially with our special ed assignments. If it's needed, let's go ahead and look into, filling those positions. One of the highlights is auxiliary staff. We are at 33.1%, which is above both the region and the state. And one thing I'd like to mention with regards to auxiliary staff, we have taken on with some of the new programs that we've kind of put into place. One of the examples I can give you is the evening food program. And so every time we're awarded additional grants, that calls for additional staff. And so that might be something we might need to look at. But I did look at last year's information. Last year for auxiliary staff, we were at 33.9%, which is a little bit higher than where we're at this year. So we are working on kind of curving those replacements. Okay, moving on to slide number 44. And this is the comparison of our Weslaco ISD teachers versus the region and the state based on the years of experience. Weslaco ISD is at 6.8% when being compared for beginner, zero experienced teachers. And this is below both the region and the state. For the 15-16 school year, WISD hired a total of 28 brand-new teachers with zero experience. That was a rather high number that we're not accustomed to taking in. We did do so, example, for the 21st Century program. It was a unique program, different from a normal classroom setting, and so we chose that, new teachers would better fit that type of scenario. This year, we've only hired 12 new teachers with zero experience, so we should see that percentage decrease. Well, I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. I know that we have made it a priority to build capacity in our district. We have received information from the universities and the local programs that WISD does take the highest number of student interns, and we're very proud of that. Not every district would want to take in and mentor a brand new teacher, but we have excellent staff in the campuses that do a wonderful job, and we're able to retain these teachers. And that is one of the reasons that we have not had the need to conduct job fairs for several years. Moving on to the category of 1 through 5 years, WISD is at 13.1%, which is also below the region and the state. In 6 to 10 years, WISD is at 19.2, which is also below the region and the state. And some good news is in the category of 11 all the way up to 20 and over, WISD is at 37% and 24%, which are both above the region and the state. And so what this tells you is that once the teacher comes to Weslaco, thanks to your generosity, we are very well paid, and once they come, they want to stay. And for that reason, WISD has a lower turnover rate than most districts. I believe in speaking to technology, we have less than 5% turnover rate, which is good news.
This is very good.
Thank you, sir.
Can you let us know on the, on this slide, the number of teachers we have with a master's degree
Yes, sir.
at every category?
In every category, yes, I will. I'll provide that to you in your update, sir, on Friday. Moving on to the next slide, this is the average teacher salary, and this has a lot to do with why we retain our staff. As you can see, in every category, WISD pays very well, and we pay actually above both the region and the state.
That's good.
And on behalf of the entire staff, I thank you for that.
I want you to add something on our updates.
Yes, sir.
I know you, we're using the average, right?
Excuse me?
We pay above the average.
Yes, sir.
I want to know what the high and the low is, to know where we're at. Are we close to the top, close to the bottom? Because the averages could be misleading.
Okay. Yes, sir. I think a couple of months back, Dr. Lee and I looked at that, and I think the only districts above Weslaco ISD were Laredo, if I'm not mistaken, La Jolla might be just slightly
La
1,000
Jolla
above.
is above Weslaco slightly.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we will look at that during the budget planning time, as well as do an overview of our stipends, make sure that we're continuing to be competitive, so we can continue to retain good staff.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
When you do that study, make sure you include the benefit package that our teachers
Yes.
receive, and along with the rest of the staff of the district, because I think ours is towards the top compared to most districts surrounding us. So if you don't mind,
Yes, sir.
in the update, include that, Mike, if you can get with Mr. Wood.
And like I said, it's very clear to see in the data that, you know, Weslaco's the place to be, and a lot of that has to do with the support that you provide to the staff. And so I thank you for that, especially on Board Recognition Month. We thank you for the wonderful raises we receive every year, and we're going to continue to work very hard for everybody, for our district. Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I know we're almost done, but let the record reflect that Patrick Kennedy joined the meeting at 6:02. 6:02.
The Lopez, members of the board, Dr. Canales. The last slide on the presentation for the taper report is the financial information. For financial audit information is the year 2014-15, which is a year before the audit data. And that is because the 15-16 audit is not reflected at TA yet. For comparing the state, the region, and the district, the first table shows the tax rate, the second table, the revenues, and the third table, the expenditures by function. On the tax rate, the average of the districts in the state is 1.26% for the total tax rate. The region districts is 1.25, and Weslaco ISD is 1.14. The last column shows Weslaco ISD for the prior year, which is also 1.14, rounded. The makeup is the M&O rate. We have a higher rate than the state and the region because our rate is all M&O. If you go see the INS, which is the second to the last row in the first table, shows 0.18 for the state, 0.17 for the region, and 0 for Weslaco ISD. But overall, our rate is lower and has been the lowest for a long time. The second table shows the revenues. On the revenues for the state, the district's average, and the local taxes, which is mostly the local revenues, is 45% for the state, 17.5 for the region districts, and 13 for Weslaco. The prior year for Weslaco was 12.5. Other local and intermediate sources for the state was 3.89, for the region district 1.82, for Weslaco ISD is 1%, and same for the prior year. For the state funding, the state districts earned 40.6%, the region districts 64.5%, Weslaco ISD 69.2%, and the prior year was 70 for Weslaco ISD. In federal funds, the state districts get 10.4% average, the region district 16.1, and Weslaco ISD 16.7. The expenditures, the instructional expenditures for the state is an average of 16.8%, the region 61.6, and Weslaco ISD 63.9, which shows that we're higher than the state and the region districts in the average. The prior year we were at 64%, and we were also higher. And on debt service, we have the lowest debt average than all the districts in the state of Texas. At the state level, it's 11.9%, the average. The region is at 7%, and Weslaco is only 4.68%. We're lower in debt and higher in expenditures.
So we utilize more money in instructional compared to state
Slightly
and
more
region.
than the state and the region district, yes.
Andres, can you do a little research on the INS being zero and the effect of it being higher in coming years?
Okay.
It is zero. It's been there for many, many years since we had the TRE.
Right, we had it for.
Kind of just check the effect, if that's ever raised a little higher, what the effect would be in revenues.
I'll provide information on the update. Any other questions on the financial data? Or on anything else?
Let me just add, Dr.
Yes, sir.
Rivera, who was it that helped us do that, when we changed that over to the M and O?
Me?
No, but there was an attorney that we hired to do that for us.
Well, it was Mo Casey Associate, the
Yeah, Mo
financial
Casey, yeah.
advisor, consultant, is the one that helped
The
us.
reason I'm saying this is because maybe you might want to consult with them a little bit, because they had told us that if we kept it low and then we put it back, it would help the district.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So.
Do a little, the research on it.
Yeah, do the research
Yes.
through MOP, and of course, with Mr. Pettis.
Okay, does the public have any questions on this, since it's a public hearing?
And the tax rate was still one of the lowest in the valley, correct?
It's the lowest in the valley, except for Point Isabel and
Por
Zapata,
Isabel.
which have a lot of royalties. We're the lowest.
And that's real good, but the only problem with that is that we can maximize at 117 and we're 114.
Right.
So it's good, but it's bad for us because a little higher would increase the revenues.
Yes.
Now, on our debt services, you said we were at 4.68, which is, yes, 4.68 was the lowest in the state? You said the lowest in the state?
In the average, it's lower.
Or the lower average?
No. The region one rate is the average of all the districts in the state. We're probably the lowest anyway by district, and I can get you that information.
That would be good to know.
I'll do a survey with region one to
That
find
would-
out from other districts.
That would be good to know. We went out for a bond not too long ago, and we were criticized for owing a lot of money, and if we are the lowest in the state, that makes a lot of, a big impact on that.
Good job to all of you. Thank you. Mr.
Thank you.
Mr. Sanchez, Ms. Peterson.
Thank you. Anybody, this is a public hearing, so if anybody has any questions or any comments, board members or public, you are welcome to come up and speak your mind. Go ahead, Andres.
I'm gonna change this slide.
Okay, if there's anybody wants to talk or make a comment, the time is now 6:12, and this public hearing is closed. Do you need a break?
Just 1 minute.